After you watch this video, I guarantee you your aim and your movement will be astronomically better on Modern Warfare 3. I watched basically every settings video all the way from JGOD to the pro players, and then I compiled all the information into one video. By the way, do you want everything in Modern Warfare 3 but you're just a little too busy? Then I would definitely check out Guapsi. Guapsi is a very reliable company where they will play in your account to unlock whatever you want. Definitely check them out and see what they have to offer. I'll have their link in the description. Which, to add some credibility to my name, I am a full-time Call of Duty content creator. Call of Duty is my life, and my KD ratio is a 4.21. Do not look at that win-loss. I back out of a lot of games. My highest kill streak being 50, and then my highest kills in the game is 134, and I have 38 nukes on the game. By the way, I will have timestamps down below, so if you want to fast forward to a certain section, it should be very easy. And then at the very end, I'm going to be going over some bonus tips and tricks for those who really want to get good at the game. So with all that said, for the controller settings, keep in mind I do have an Xbox Elite V2 controller. This one does have paddles on the back. It's a little bit more advanced, but if you do not have a controller with paddles, this video is still going to be good for you. One thing that you could do to get around with not having paddles on the back of your controller is by playing claw. I played like this for years. Basically, you have your pointer finger up here, and this will allow you to be able to jump shot and drop shot mid gunfight while still having good aim, since you don't need to take time of moving your thumb off the joystick to go hit the buttons. But if you do not want to play claw, you actually can go down to your edit button layout, and then you can swap this down to, I believe it is bumper jumper tactical. This is going to allow you to jump shot by hitting that left bumper, or you can drop shot by hitting that right stick, and so that's going to allow you to have the movement without necessarily messing up your aim. It's just going to be a little bit weird at first. So another thing that you guys can also do is you can flip your bumpers with your triggers. This is going to allow you to actually fire your weapon a little bit quicker, because now you are clicking a button rather than pulling a trigger down. Since I do have trigger stops, I do not need to do that. Overall, it doesn't really matter that much. It doesn't make that big of an impact. One thing that does make a very big impact is when you turn off the controller vibration. Less things vibrating in your hand will lead to better aim. At first, it will feel very weird, but with practice, you will get used to it, and you will definitely get a lot better at the game. Next up, we got the dead zones. The dead zones, this is very important. So left stick, you can keep this at 0, but for me and most controllers, you're going to want to have this at 3. Basically, my character is going to start to move forward if I have it on 0, because I have a little bit of stick drift. For the left stick max, so this one very important. A lot of people do not know about this. So with the left stick max, now if I have mine on 65 or 75, that's what most pro players do, I do not need to move my movement stick all the way from the middle to the very end. All I have to do is move it from the middle to the beginning of that red ring, allowing me to actually be able to move a little bit quicker. It's going to have a quicker response time. You can get up to full movement speed way quicker, because you don't need to move it from the middle all the way to the end. You only need to move it from the middle to the beginning of that red circle, if that makes sense. For the right stick min, so if you did not know, some pro players will actually have this on 7. One of those pro players is FaZe Celium. He keeps it on 7. This is how he plays a little bit better. The reason for this is because sometimes you will be overcompensating for the recoil control. You're shooting your weapon, you're pulling down on the right stick to mitigate that recoil. If your dead zone is on 0, you'll actually find yourself controlling the recoil too much, so then you'll be pulling down too much, which if you have it on 7, it'll actually prevent that from happening, giving you god tier aim. Celium has some of the best aim in the game, but you will be seeing most pro players at 3 to 5. For me, I found that I have the best aim around 5. I do mix it around a decent amount, but usually I will be between 3 and 5. At 0, you will find yourself overcompensating on your recoil control a little bit too much. It does feel nice, but overall you will probably do better around 3 to 5. For me, I like that 5. Right stick max, keep that at 99. For the left trigger, some people like to have this on 10 if they accidentally hit the trigger a little bit too much, but overall I do recommend you guys to keep this on 0. Same thing goes with the right trigger. Some people are a little bit trigger happy and they accidentally hit the trigger, so then in that case you might want to have it on 5, but overall most people will be keeping it on 0. So that is going to wrap it up for the general controller settings. Now for the aiming settings. Typically for your sensitivity, you do want a lower sense, not so you have better aim, but so you have better centering, which will lead to better aim. The centering basically means that white dot in the center of your screen when you're running around, not ADS, you need to make sure that is where an enemy could be. If you have a lower sense, you're going to be more accurate with your centering. If you're running around the map and you see a doorway, make sure that just swiftly glides over to the doorway, so if an enemy runs out of that that doorway, you can easily just ADS and, you know, kill them very quick. And so I have a lower sense, so I have better centering. Some people will actually have this on like 10 horizontal, and then they'll have the vertical on 6. Overall, it is personal preference. You'll see most pro players playing between 4 and 7. For me, I like 6.6. You just got to play with what you like. And then for the ADS sensitivity multiplier, I like to have mine on 0.9. This is basically going to slow down your aim once you are ADS. And so, you know, when you're ADS, that's when you really need to have precise aiming. For me, I'm a little bit shaky at times, and so I found I was doing the best at 90. Sometimes, you know, I will have it at 0.95 or 1.0. I do change it around a decent amount. It is all personal preference. So for the sensitivity multiplier, just keep these all on default. Again, personal preference. Attack stance sensitivity, keep all of this on default, whatever it came. Oh, so aim assist type. Black Ops does feel a little bit stickier. In the early stages of Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops was very overpowered, then they nerfed it. In this game, Black Ops does feel pretty sticky, and so for me, I do like Black Ops, but when there's a lot of enemies on my screen, I found it's a little bit hard to like swap target to target, and so sometimes I will actually play on default. So maybe if I'm playing like Shipment or Rust, then I will have it on default, and then for the other maps, I will have it on Black Ops. Overall though, that does get a little bit confusing, so I usually just play on Black Ops so I can be very consistent. Again, personal preference, try them both and use the one that you do better. I would stay away from precision and focusing. They do have a couple benefits, like precision is pretty good for sniping, but then when you use a regular gun, it's going to be very hard to hit your shots, and so that's why I recommend default and in Black Ops. Third person, yeah, this one does not matter. Keep that on off, and then now let's go over to the gameplay settings. So for the gameplay settings, since there is slide canceling in this game, make sure you have it on automatic tactical sprint. That is going to save your controller. You're not going to have as much stick drift. For the auto move forward, I have mine on off. Tactical sprint behavior, make sure this is on single tap run. It's going to make the game feel way more fluid. Grounded mantle off, same with airborne mantle off, and then off. This is going to make it so you don't accidentally mantle over things. And then for the slide dive behavior, this is actually game changer. So by default, I believe you have it on tap to slide. Make sure you have it on slide only, which this will disable the dive, and so you're not going to be able to dolphin dive in this game. If you play zombies, you might not want to have that, so then you have your PhD flopper. But overall, for multiplayer, have it on slide only. This is going to make your slide literally feel like Modern Warfare 2019. It makes the game feel so astronomically fluid. Basically, if you don't have it on there, there is a 100 millisecond delay when you go to slide, because the game doesn't know if you're trying to hold or if you're trying to slide. And so if you have it on slide only, which disables the dolphin dive, you are going to be able to slide cancel a little bit quicker, which is why it feels like Modern Warfare 2019, or actually it feels a little bit more fluid than that game. And so if you ever see people with really good movement, I guarantee you they have it on slide only. It makes the game feel so much better. Once you throw this on, you're gonna just be completely mind blown how your game feels so much better. For the plunging underwater, keep this on free. It's gonna allow you to move around the water a little bit more freely. In multiplayer, there isn't really water, so that doesn't matter. It's more of a war zone thing. Same with the parachute auto deploy. Make sure that is on off. You just want to be able to get closest to the ground and then pull out your chutes, so then you can get to the ground as fast as possible. Sprinting door bash on. Ledge climb behavior, mantle only. Slide cancel sprint, make sure that's on. Combat behaviors, obviously on hold. And then all of this stuff, I believe we are going to be keeping this on default. Basically, when you're going through here, you want everything to be as quick as possible, which is why for this one, we actually need to have this on off. I did mess up right there. And then for the interact reload behavior, for multiplayer, keep this on tap to reload. If you are playing Warzone, you are going to be able to want to loot a little bit quicker, and so you want to have prioritize interact. Armor plate behavior, this is going to be a Warzone thing. Make sure that's on apply all. ADS stick swap off. Backpack, directional buttons, this stuff does not really matter at all. Just keep everything on here on default or a personal preference, which that is going to wrap it up for the controller settings. Now let's go over to the graphics settings. So for the graphics settings, since I am a streamer, I'm going to be having on full screen borders because I need to use my other monitors while I'm playing occasionally. If you're not a streamer, just have it on full screen exclusive. You're going to have a less input delay. You're going to play a little bit better. And then for this stuff, just keep it on default. For the display gamma, make sure this is on 2.2. The colors are going to be a little bit better on the game. Brightness, it is going to be monitor specific. For the more high-end PCs, you want to make sure this is on. Overall though, I would go into a game and see which one gives you more FPS. For me, I do have a pretty good PC, so that's why mine is on. For the eco mode preset, have this on custom, and the VSync gameplay and VSync menus on off. Custom frame limit, so since my monitor goes up to 240 hertz, you might think I'm gonna have this on 240, but I noticed that sometimes it'll be at like 235 and 240, and then when I had this on 250, I actually did have a little bit more FPS, resolution. So basically go a 10 above whatever the hertz of your monitor is. For the menu custom frame limit, you don't really need your computer to work harder than it needs to, so have it on 60. Out of focus custom frame limit, I actually need to increase that to 250. Focus mode, so this one basically is going to add like a filter on your monitors if you have multiple of them, basically making it so they're not as bright. That is personal preference. For me, I really like the 30. Make sure HDR is on off, and that's going to wrap it up for the display settings. Let's go over to the quality ones. So for the quality ones, render resolution, just keep that at 100. There's no need to go above or below that. Dynamic resolution off. Upscale sharpening. Fidelity is crucial. This is very much going to make the game so much easier to see. The enemy's visibility goes up, so I wouldn't go below 70, but it is personal preference. Go into a game and see the one that you like. A lot of players, I'll see they keep it at like 80, but for me, I really like to have it on 100. VRAM scale target. Make sure this is on 90 unless you are a streamer and you got like so many other applications running. Then you might want to have it on 80 or 85. For me, I just like to have it on 80. Variable rate shading, I have it on off. Texture resolution, I have a very good PC, so I'm going to be running it on high. If you want to maximize your FPS, you might want to have it on very low or normal. The game does look pretty bad on low and very low, and so if you don't have the best PC and you can run normal, I would sacrifice a little bit of your FPS just for the game to look a tad better. And so again, if you have a very good PC, high if you want, and then if you don't have that good of one, have it on normal. Texture filter anastrophic, this basically is the same exact thing. And then for the depth of field, this is a must. Make sure this is on off. It's going to make the game so much better. The visibility will be a lot better. Detail quality level. So one little fun fact, since I'm a content creator, I want my game to look somewhat good for the videos, I'm going to make sure mine is on high. But if you guys take a look at that picture, if you have it on low, there's actually going to be less like bushes and things, and so you actually can kind of like see more of the map. If there's an enemy behind a bush, it's going to be a little bit easier to see them because there are going to be less leaves on that bush. Most people don't really know about that. Particle resolution, I have mine on very low. If it is a little bit hard to see the enemies, then you might want to have it on high. I noticed that there's a little bit less smoke on the high, but then there's more particles, and so I do actually like very low, and I recommend you guys to stay on the very low. Bullet impacts doesn't really matter for me. I like to have it on. Precision effects, we're gonna have that on off. Shader quality, make sure this is on high. It's gonna make it a little bit easier to see the enemies when they are in the shadows. Yes, it is a little bit harder for your computer to run, but you are gonna have better visibility, which is key in this game. On-demand texture streaming, make sure that's on off. Same with the local texture streaming quality. Shadow lightning, the shadow quality really does not matter, so make sure that's on very low. Screen space shadows, if you want your camos to look a little bit better, keep that on high, which is why mine is on high. But overall, if you're trying to maximize FPS, make sure that is on off. Ambient occlusion off. Screen space reflections, same reasons as these screen space shadows. If you want your camos to look better, make sure that's on high. If you don't really care about that, have that on off. Static reflection quality low. Environment tessellation 0 off. Terrain memory min. Volumetric quality, I have mine on low. I don't know why that was on high. Deferred physics quality off. Weather grid volumes low. Water quality off. And that's going to wrap it up for the quality. Now let's go over to the view settings. So for the view, field of view, all the pro players will be between 100 and 105. For the Warzone players, they'll usually be at 115 to 120. That is because on Warzone, you have a very big map, and so it actually is very helpful to be able to see more of the map. But if you're on controller, the aim assist gets a little bit weird once you pass 105, which is why all the pro players play on like 100 to 105. They want like the best aim assist possible, and they don't really need to see that much of the map since it is multiplayer. For me, because I do play Warzone and multiplayer, and I want my game to look like I'm moving a little bit quicker, so I have mine on 110. Sometimes I will go up to 115. ADS field of view, make sure that's on affected. Weapon field of view, so you can see a little bit more of your screen, have this on wide. This one does not matter. Vehicle field of view default. World motion blur and weapon motion blur, please have this on off. I see a lot of people still have this on. I do not know why. This is going to make the visibility on your game so much better. Film grain, same reasons, keep that on 0. This stuff does not really matter too much. Oh, inverted flashbang, so if you don't want to, when you get busted on by a flashbang, if you don't want that to just be so bright and blind you, you can put this on, then it's going to make your screen black. But I always think my monitor turns off or something, so that's why I just keep it on white. And that's going to wrap it up for the graphics settings. Now let's go over to the audio settings. So the audio ones, this one is going to be a little bit personal preference. It does depend on the audio setup that you have, but for most people, home theater is going to be the best one. Then I just keep this on default. I might change this in the future, but I just found that I can hear footsteps the best when I have it on default system device. Speaker output of Windows default, master volume. So I actually turn off the music so then I can just specifically hear footsteps and things I need to hear in game. And then, you know, it's overall like too loud, so that's why I have mine on 80. And then this is personal preference, so you can just move that around based off your system. This stuff on here does not really matter too much. Yeah, if you guys want, you can copy exactly what I have, but again, this is all going to be personal preference. Interface, this is very, very important. You actually can make your game. Dude, my nose is so itchy. With these settings, you can make your game look so much better. So this stuff right here does not really matter. The color customization is what matters. So you want to go to custom on here, and then if you actually click on each color, you can boost up the saturation. By default, I think it's like right around here, but I can up the saturation, and then I actually can choose the color I want, making it super, super visible. Whatever color you want, I would do that. For the team, I like to have mine on green. I'll max out that saturation. Same goes for the enemy. I like to have my enemies on red, so then I'm gonna max out that saturation, making them super, super visible. And then you want to do the same for all of those. Color filter 2 is gonna make everything pop the most. Color filter target, both world color intensity. This is gonna make the colors as bright as possible, so you want that on 100. Interface color intensity, have that on 100. And then for the HUD bounds, so you want to make sure this is as in as possible. This is basically gonna make it so you don't have to like look to the very corner of your screen. If you want to look at your mini map, you can just look to like that corner of where that HUD is, and so then you don't have to like drag your eyes so much across the screen. That is very crucial. Minimap shape, make sure this is on square. There is no purpose to have it on circle, especially in this game when the minimap really matters. In this game, if you didn't know, when you fire your gun without a suppressor, you are going to show up on the radar. So if you are playing the game, literally always look at your radar, glance at that every few seconds, so then you can see if there's any enemies firing their gun without a suppressor. Then you can kind of figure out the general area of where the enemies are going to be. And if you have this on circle, you're going to miss out on a lot of areas of the map. Minimap rotation on. Horizontal compass, I don't find that the compass is helpful at all, so I'm gonna have mine on off. Again, personal preference. Crosshairs, I like to have mine on static, and then I'm gonna make the center dot on. The center dot being on is gonna make it so it's a lot easier to be able to center where the enemies are gonna be. If you guys look at that picture, that centering is very good because, you know, an enemy could be running down, and if they're running down, you're gonna be perfectly on their chest, given you do want to start at the top of the stairs and then slowly, you know, move as you're moving through the map. For the center dot scale, I have mine on larger. Largest I found is just a little bit too big. Default's a little bit hard to see, so right in the middle is going to be perfect for me. Hit marker visuals on, damage base hit markers on. Player names, I like to have mine on abbreviated. Again, personal preference, whatever your eyes see best you want to do. For me, I like the abbreviated. In-game text chat on. Vehicle HUD prompts, oh yeah, all this stuff doesn't really matter. If you're curious what I like to have on screen, I just like to see my FPS and my server latency, and then I accidentally backed out of everything. And again, all of this is personal preference. Do whatever you like, which that is, I think, gonna wrap it up for all these settings. So now let's go into a custom game, and I'm gonna show you guys how to get the best possible aim. So for the first thing you guys want to do, basically, if you back out and then you hit the left trigger, if you're on controller, you actually can pull up this menu, go down to Modern Warfare 3. You know, I can't believe I'm doing a tutorial for the UI. Like, they need to make this so much easier. So then you want to go over to private match. I kind of do this before I like start my streams, or just before I go to get a gameplay. This helps me warm up a lot. You want to wait a few minutes for this to load. Once it does load, you want to go down to game setup, select the game mode you want. For me, usually I will do free for all, or I will do domination. And then for the map, I'm going to be choosing a map that I really like. Let's do high rise in this case. Then you want to go over to the game rules. You want to max out the time limit. You don't really need to do this more than like 3 to 5 minutes, but in this case, we're just going to max out that time limit. Score limit, you do want to max that out. Basically, make the game last an unlimited amount of time so you can practice for as long as you want. And then for all this stuff, keep this all on default. Sometimes I will turn on the minimap just to constant, so then I know where all the bots are, which if you do want to add some, well, no, you have to add some bots. So for this, we're going to be adding some bots. Go over to this plus, and then you want to add as many bots as possible. And then the difficulty doesn't roll. Okay, depends on the map. You know, if you're playing a very small map, you don't really need to have 30 bots, and it might make the game lag a little bit. So usually I'll just have it around like 11, so then it feels like a real game. And then for the difficulty, it doesn't doesn't really matter. I'll just keep mine on recruit, and then you want to confirm that. So now we got all the bots, and here we got the game lasting a long time. You guys want to make a very good build, which if you guys want the best AR build in the game, this is going to be Scumpy's MCW setup, which there is a couple other setups that I do like. This is the one that Scump is currently using right now. I am going to make a full video on this class. One thing I do actually prefer to do is to take off the high grain rounds, and then I'll go over to the muzzle, and then I will add the, I believe it is called the TR4LR Saber compensator. I really like to run these, and then I believe I'll take off the stock or the rear grip, and then I'll add a vertical underbarrel, and that's going to basically eliminate all the recoil in the weapon. But right here is another very good build. If you want to use a SMG, the best SMG that all the pros are using in the game, what will probably be meta in rank play, is going to be this build right here. Just keep in mind they actually are not running this underbarrel anymore. They are running the vertical grip on this, which is going to eliminate a lot of the vertical recoil on the weapon, obviously. Then they got the, I believe, the TR4L Saber compensator, rival starter barrel. This class could be a little bit different, but I'm pretty sure this is the meta one that they are using right now. They kind of change based off the day, and they're still trying to figure out the meta. So once you have all of that set up, you want to go into the game, which that would be sick if there was a way that we could like save the settings, so then you could save this as like the practice mode, and then you could easily load into the match, which you can save your blueprints, and so I do recommend you guys to do that, so you can throw on the blueprint that you want very quickly. So now that we are in the game, we are going to basically be practicing our aim on the bots, so then we don't fuck up our KD in the game. Which also, there's a couple tips I want to give you guys. So the first thing, you just want to run around and you just want to shoot some bots. I usually like to get about like 50 to 100 kills. Obviously the more kills you get, the better your aim is going to be, but you don't want to waste too much time, because it is more fun to play against some real players, and the real players are going to be sliding around a little bit more, giving you a little bit better of a practice. So one thing that you guys can also do is go over to your controller settings, go over to the aiming tab, and then slow down to target aim assist, and you can actually turn this off. Also keep in mind, this is like where I like to test out Black Ops or the default aim assist. When you have that on off, you can't do that, but when it is on, you can test out the one that you do best with. A lot of pros play with Black Ops and a lot of pros play with default, so it literally is a personal preference thing. So one of the tips I like to do, I like to turn off the aim assist, and then I will go in here and I will try to shoot bots with no aim assist, and I will see if I can get my aim to be perfect with no aim assist. And once I kill a lot of bots like this, once I feel pretty good, then I'll go ahead and I will turn on the aim assist, and then your aim will be very, very good. And make sure you practice a little bit with aim assist, since your aim will be a little bit different with the aim assist. And so that is a very, very good way to be able to get your aim on point. Another very good way to get your aim on point is to have very good centering. So when I'm moving around the map, I'm going to make sure this white dot is where an enemy could be, so then when I see an enemy, I can just ADS and I can start shooting. I don't want to have to ADS over here, then drag over and start shooting, because that is going to take too much time and you are going to be missing some shots. And so I just like to move around the map and try to have the best centering, so that I can just snap onto targets, and I will literally move around the map and I will just practice having pretty good centering. Sometimes I will even have bots on the map. I'll just move around and practice this until I have very good centering. This is literally what makes a pro player minus, the game sense and some other things. This will make your aim astronomically better, especially because when you hit that first shot, that's when you're going to be able to have better aim, because when you hit that first shot, that's when the other shots are going to land. So if you can hit your first shot, it's going to be easier to land the other shots, and you can maximize your time to kill and maximize the ammo that you have in your mag, especially in this game, since the time to kill is going to be so long. You need to make sure you kind of hit every shot on the enemy, so you have enough ammo to be able to kill another player if they come up behind the enemy. And so I just like to move around and try to have very good centering. One thing that you guys can do also, if you see multiple targets on your screen, you don't really want to, drag to target to target. Keyboard mouse is a little bit different. They'll kind of flick target to target, but for controller, you want to basically snap onto targets. You want to, if you see like a guy here, actually, here, I'll go find like two bots. So there's, there was two bots there. Okay, so I see two bots here. I'm going to go ADS, and then I'm going to un-ADS, and then ADS over there. I'm basically going to try to snap onto each target. I'm not gonna snap. I'm gonna try to lock on to each target by going boom, 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 boom. If you see three targets, go boom, boom, boom. Do not try to flick over. It's a little bit harder with controller. It is a lot easier to just go like this. Boom, boom, boom. Way easier. Make sure you guys practice that. That's what the very good players will be very good at, is just going boom, boom, boom. They will literally never go like this. Like sometimes you can if you need to, but overall, just boom, boom, Boom. Also, once you do hit your shot, and even before you hit the shot, make sure you always strafe in your gunfights. When you strafe in your gunfights, you're going to activate a new type of aim assist called rotational. Well, it's not new, but it's going to be more aim assist than you usually have. This rotational aim assist is going to be activated when you strafe. So that's why you always want to strafe in your gunfights. Plus, when you strafe in your gunfight, it's going to make you a harder target hit. And so always strafe in your gunfight when you are moving. It is going to be so much easier to hit your shots, and it's going to be so much harder for the enemies to hit their shots on you. So with all that said, that is going to wrap it up for how to have better aim on the game. I will do a full movement guide, so if you do want to get better at the movement, I would hit the subscribe button. You will get a lot better at the game, just to give you guys a couple tips on how to have better movement. If you want to know how to slide cancel, you basically want to slide stand, or slide jump. You just hit your slide button and then your jump button, and that is going to be how you can slide cancel. You can cancel your slide whenever you want, and then if you have these settings, your slide cancel should be very, very smooth, and with some practice, you should be able to do that pretty easily. One thing that a lot of people need to learn how to do also is how to snake. This one, you basically lay down and then you stand back up. You lay down, stand back up, or you lay down, stand back up, moving in a forward motion. You want to lay down backwards, stand back up, forward. So you just lay down backwards and then you run forward. Lay down backwards. Well, lay down backwards as in walking backwards as you're laying down, and then you move forward. And so you're kind of moving back and forth while you're laying down and standing back up. And when you're doing this, basically the enemy's only going to be able to see your head. They're not going to be able to see anything else, but you can see their entire body, making it very broken. And you know, I wish this wasn't in the game, but it is in the game, and other players will snake you. And so when you encounter enemies like that, you kind of got to snake them back just to be able to keep up. And it is meta in rank. Once you get to like those iridescent and crimson levels, even diamond, you're going to see a bunch of enemies snaking, and you can basically snake anything in the game. So you just lay down as you're moving backwards and then run forward. Lay down, run forward, lay down backwards, run forward. And when you do that, it is very hard for the enemies to hit you. Next thing you guys need to learn how to do is gonna just the basic drop shot. I should have showed you guys the snaking at the end, but drop shotting, you just lay down. And so if you see an enemy, you can lay down. And there is a way to do it instantly, which it's a little bit complicated to do that, so I will be having that in a full movement guide video. And so basically you go like this. Wait, no, I'm snaking again. Sorry, guys. Drop shotting, just lay down. That's all you got to do. This is very basic. And then there isn't bunny hopping in this game. They did say they are going to be add bunny hopping, so that is going to be very sick when they do add that. They did say they're going to be adding it in like a different way though, so I feel like it's going to be momentum based. So the more momentum you have, the farther you can bunny hop in things, which you can kind of bunny hop in the game. Basically, you just ADS and then you jump, and right when you hit the ground, you jump again. But in this game right now, it is very like sticky. It doesn't feel that good, and you really don't fly that far. In previous games like Modern Warfare 2019, you would run, bunny hop, and you would actually fly pretty far with the jump. But in this game, you can't really do it that much, and it doesn't really help you that much. If you want your movement to feel a little bit better, I would recommend running the assault gloves. Those are going to make it so it's a little bit easier to stay on target when you are jump shotting. One thing I also like to do, so if I know an enemy is over here, I'll actually jump around the corner and I'll start firing before I'm even around the corner, because there is a little bit of a delay. So then right when you're around the corner, you're actually going to already be firing. And also, one thing you guys need to learn how to do, one thing you guys need to learn how to understand is breaking someone's camera. So if someone is right here and I know that, I can actually move around the corner very quickly on their screen. I'm not going to register that quickly. They're going to register on my screen first. And so that is called breaking someone's camera. So I can slide around and break their camera. And so then it's a lot easier to get first shot on the enemy. And that is basically how you can always challenge like a camper. The camper will die a lot of the time because you're not going to register on their screen that fast, while they're going to register on your screen instantly. And so always try to like slide around a corner, slide cancel around a corner, or jump around a corner. If you jump around a corner, make sure you guys pre-fire, so then you start firing instantly right when you're around that corner. And if you do those things correctly, you're going to be able to get so many more kills because you'll be breaking the cameras and you will be getting first shot. And if you get first shot, you're typically going to hit the rest and win that gunfight. There's one thing called crack aiming, which is kind of like where you're like this, which is kind of the same philosophy of when you see two enemies and you go boom, 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 boom. When you do this, I feel like it's a little bit easier to like lock on to the target. I don't walk around the map doing this, but if I'm laying down watching this doorway, I'll kind of be like this, which is called crack aiming. This feels like it resets your aim assist. I just feel like I really lock onto the targets when I'm like this. So, and it kind of keeps my fingers going. So if the enemy does like run out of that doorway, I'm going to be a little bit faster to react since my fingers are already moving, which is why people do YY. I always like the YY to keep my fingers active, keeps everything moving. When I'm not really moving, I feel like I have a worse reaction time, but if I am moving like this, or if I'm like this, I will feel like I have a better reaction time. And the last thing I want to go over is going to be for the doors. Doors actually can be very helpful. I want to basically get some data in this room. I can go like this, boom, I can shoulder peek it, and then I can shut the door and jump out again. And so you can kind of use the doors to distract the enemies. So I can go like that, open the door, and then close it. And now I got some data and I can push somewhere else, or I can go boom, boom, boom. And so I can double chow, more so for Warzone. Doesn't help as much in multiplayer, but it still is pretty helpful. And so I always like to use my doors to my advantage. I'll go boom, boom, wait, okay, boom. Which, when you have prioritize interact, that is going to make the door mechanics way quicker, which is why this is more of a Warzone thing. But, you know, the doors can still be helpful. One thing I do like to do with the doors, so say there's an enemy over there, I'll actually shut the door. Well, the door will be shut, and you can kind of use that as cover. And so then it just, more things are moving on the enemy screen. And so I like to basically smash the door open and then drop shot next to it. So you can really use those to your advantage. And there's many, many more things, but I could go on for years. And so I'm just going to do a dedicated video for all of that. But with all that said, that should wrap it up. If you guys did get better at the game, or you just found this video helpful in general, a subscription is appreciated. We're almost at 100k subscribers, and you will get better at the game if you hit the subscribe button, and a like button is required. Hit the motherfucking like button if you're watching to this point. And if you made it to this point of the video, leave a comment saying Luna.